Oh yeah, total imposter syndrome right now.
Like, no, but I'm worth it. It's clean. Like, I just feel like people don't really know that I'm going through all of the obstacles and challenges inside, because recently I'm like, I'm going through it.
Yeah, total imposter syndrome right now.
Recently?
I mean, I was definitely talking about it with y'all recently, for sure. We are all feeling it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Wait, what time is it?
Wherever
Good
you're
evening.
listening.
Yeah.
It's on your treadmill or on your way to work.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Or walking your dog. Thank you for joining.
We're about to fall asleep.
Here are some chimes for you to fall asleep to. Okay. Today's topic was imposter syndrome.
And how to overcome it.
Yeah.
This one's a good one.
It is a good one because I was like, I'm actually going to be listening more than talking. If I'm going to be honest.
Really?
Total imposter syndrome right now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, was I talking about that with you recently?
I mean, I was definitely talking about it with y'all recently, for sure. We are all feeling it.
So what is it? Let's define what it is for those that don't know.
Okay. Webster's dictionary, actually my dictionary, imposter syndrome means that you don't feel like the position that you were given, like you aren't entitled to it. You haven't deserved it. You haven't earned it. Like, for example, a lot of people that become famous feel imposter syndrome because they don't feel like they've earned that right. Also, if someone is very successful, same thing, they don't feel like they've earned that or gotten to what they think, quote unquote, is successful.
Yeah. So I'll read it as well.
Please do.
Yeah. But you did a really great job.
Backwards.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Googs.
You're welcome. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I want to pull up some symptoms, or what are the symptoms that you guys feel when you know that you're feeling that imposter syndrome?
Almost as if someone is going through, this is like an analogy, like say they're going and opening up your closet and seeing exactly what you're going, like they're opening it up and they're like, oh, okay. And so what I mean by that is as if like your closet's like full of like dirty clothes or whatever, and it's still kind of just hanging there. But then like in your head, you're like, no, but I'm worth it. It's clean. Like, I just feel like people don't really know that I'm going through all of the obstacles and challenges inside, because recently I'm like, I'm going through it. Like on a daily basis, like I'm feeling like this because I don't feel like I'm deserving of the challenges that are coming my way.
So it's more so.
It's obviously internal.
Yeah.
Right? It's obviously an internal thing. And I think that with every level, you'll feel some type of imposter syndrome, because it's like we're taking on so many different avenues in which I don't necessarily feel confident yet in my abilities to execute. And so with that, there has been a lot of failures that are getting me to the point where I am now. And so I've discussed this with y'all during our call, or not our call, but our F4, 5, or technically with F5.
F3+1.
Yeah.
Our last dinner, because this whole year has been a huge transition into stepping into something completely new, honestly, for all of us. And the imposter syndrome has been hitting me almost on a daily basis. And it feels very like debilitating, if that's the right word. Like, sometimes I'll just sit and be like, am I doing the right thing? Is this right? I always almost need a person to help me realize, no, you are capable. You are doing it right. Or even if you do it wrong, you can fix it somehow, some way.
Yeah.
What about you, Sandra? Because you said that you're also feeling it in a way.
Yeah. And to your point, you feel it at new levels. So I know that this isn't the first time or the last time that I will experience it. And I do even remember, previous times. I think that in certain seasons, it feels way more intense than others. But I think for me, my symptoms I feel like I tend to, or at least this go around, I feel like I freeze. Like I just almost like get
debilitated.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just like stunned, like, and for you, it might be more of like a closet. The way that I have described it to my best friend, because I have talked about it with her, I just feel like I'm staring at this monster. And she's like, no, I think what you're doing is you're seeing this whole thing as an elephant, and the whole concept of you can't eat an elephant all at once. You kind of have to eat it in chunks. I don't want to eat an elephant. I don't want to eat an elephant either. Yeah.
5 years from now, someone's going to pull that clip up. Sandra eats elephants.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I find myself just freezing, when I think about the monstrosity of what it is that I have to accomplish. And it kind of like, for me, this is where I start to I need to figure out how I can start to act, like take action, and break certain things down into little pieces. But while I'm doing that, I've realized that I need to remind myself of the things that I have accomplished. And we've heard Sabs talk about the story of David and Goliath, and how when he's going there, he's like, no, I've killed the lion, the tiger, the bear. I know that's not the animals on there, but yeah. But like I've done all of these things, and I have to remind myself of what it is that I have accomplished in the past. And community is so important for me. My friendships are so important at that time. Like even sharing it with you or my best friend as well. And she does a really good job of reminding me of the things that I have done. And one of the big mantras that has come about for me during this season and feeling imposter syndrome has been, I do difficult things. I like to do difficult things. And so I just keep telling myself that, and it brings about for me at least a different kind of energy. Like, no, I like this. Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Cause I like this, because when everything is perfect. And of course I do like that time when things like, okay, everything feels in order and it's good. But then after a while it's like, okay, what now? Where's
for me, I don't like it when everything's like, oh, I'm done with everything I have on my list for the day. Like, okay, let me go to tomorrow. And then you're like, oh, I've like essentially started off what I can do tomorrow, whatever. But it's like,
yeah,
something just doesn't feel right when everything is not necessarily perfect, but just like there should be something else I should be putting my time into that could yield different results.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. And I don't know if this is good or bad, or I don't know, but I think that there is a part, I know that there is a part of me that regardless of how afraid I am or how big of an imposter I feel, sometimes I like the challenge. There's something that allows me to feel more like motivated or more activated is actually the word. Because I think about this too, even with the gym. When I go to the gym and my workout is easy or I'm not breaking some kind of sweat, I'm like, really? Like, what are you here for then? Like, you're not going to see any results if you just come in and check it off that you did it and you're not actually hurting to some degree. So I that's how I feel. That's how I feel when imposter syndrome comes. I feel like I kind of shut down and I freeze, and I have to figure out how can I break it into pieces. And while I'm doing that, I have to remind myself of the things that I have accomplished. And at the same time too, it's like, okay, somebody gave me this responsibility because they also see something and they believe in me. So why aren't you believing in yourself?
Yep. I love
kind
that
of situation.
I love that. It's definitely almost having that mentorship or that guidance or that support system to help you realize your capabilities. And so I love that how you shared how you overcome it, even when you do feel like you're freezing. I think that, again, people have this perception. Someone recently had shared with me. He was like, yeah. Like, you're always a positive person. Like, I don't think I've ever seen you sad or cry. And in my head, I'm like, well, one, I don't actually post that kind of shit online.
Right.
But two, it's not because I'm not, you know what I mean? It's not because I'm not going through it. It's just because it's more so because I do see the positive aspects of things of how I'm supposed to take care of myself internally. Like these are private victories for me. And so for me, it's like the practice of like, even though I don't feel like I'm worth it, like, even though I do have these same negative thoughts as everyone else does, it's more of my practice of how I do it on a daily. So it's not like every day can be nice, but there are times of the day where it can go and then I have to like lift myself up again and then like, fuck, why am I really going through all of these emotions right now? And it really kind of triggers this like response of, wait, hold on. You have been through everything that you've been through for a specific reason. What are you going to do next? What are you going to do to level up? And when I was talking about the whole closet kind of analogy thing is because even for me, this is going to sound super silly, but like, as far as habits go, I'm just going to share this. Like, as far as habits go, with my husband and I, like, he's a super, super organized person, like likes and loves. I know you're like this too, but loves having, if someone takes something out of my place, you have to put it back in the same place where it belongs.
For example.
Or the caps.
Exactly. Like, if I don't screw my water bottle in again, and I drink it because I'd realize I didn't do it and it like falls all over me. So like a little bit of a habit with that is like, for me now, I'm like, okay, just put it back where it belongs. Like, even with my closet, like I'm trying to keep my closet clean now because I used to have like a bunch of shit everywhere. And then that was almost like I'm literally carrying my baggage around. And so my goal has been for the last couple of months is to really keep my closet clean, just so that if anyone does come, it's actually nice and clean. Like, I don't have to hide anything. I don't want to feel like I'm hiding anything from anyone. And so to me, the closet is a big analogy for it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know?
Because I think that has a lot to do with, does the outside match the inside?
Exactly.
And I think very similar to what Sabs talks about with the identity gap. You know, I think that for us, because I know exactly what you're saying. When I am not walking the talk and I know that, oh no. You can tell. Yeah. And then I struggle with that because I feel like that is a lack of authenticity, and maybe nobody else has to know, but I know. Yeah. And I do not like that feeling.
And sometimes you feel like everybody else knows, but they don't.
Yeah. And so it's like, no, I don't want to walk that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
even something as small as that, like being very cautious of like, okay, I'm going to put this back to where it belongs. How is it going to help me overcome imposter syndrome? Because I know I'm a good person if I'm cleaning my shit up.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. How do you feel it, Drake? How do you realize
it's like
it has
levels up from
come
your guys'
up on
like
me?
Pleasantville? For me, like specifically in the new role that I'm in, whenever someone like, oh, you know, congratulations, like you guys are killing it, whatever. It's like,
Killing what?
Like, yeah, like I didn't do shit, you know, like that's how I feel. And then when you say like, hey, you know, I was put into this position because the person believed in me that I could accomplish it. For me, I'm like, I don't think there was anyone else that was available.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm like, I was put in this position for sure. Yeah, I get like, I do have a way of doing what I'm saying I'm going to do. But for me, now it's like, although people are like, oh yeah, like I went to the field on Black Friday. I didn't have to do that. But for me, it was like, I had to prove something, right? Yeah. And then even when everyone saw me like post that I, you know, got some bells and whatnot, that everyone's like, fuck yeah, stud, this and that. And I'm like, I didn't do anything, you know, like I didn't do what I think they feel I did in my head. Although
I see.
Yeah, if I saw someone else, like absolutely good job. But I don't think that I have reached the point of deserving of
that praise.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And so I'm constantly striving for that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the praise, but to get to where I think I should have earned that praise.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That does make sense, because this is completely different, but even in the dance world, with the team that I was a part of, I felt like I had to do, I was part of that team and that team got a lot of praise. Right. And in my head, I'm like, but I didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a beginner. You know what I mean? Like I don't, but even to be able to stay on that team and to perform with that team, I had to put so much work to some degree prove myself that I could be a part of it. And I had to work extra harder to get to like a little bit of what they were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I look back though, I'm like, no, but I did it. Like I did that thing. And I think for me, it's more so to help build myself up, which I love that you continue to challenge yourself. And it's, to some degree, it's like, no, but I haven't done anything. And I think that probably speaks to more, it speaks more to what you're capable of and more towards what you're working towards. Right. So to some degree, I think that it's super, super good, but I think that there's also part of you that needs to give yourself some credit to know like, no, I did do that. Like I did do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to say that so that you can feel satisfied and then just chill. No, not at all. But I think that there has to be some kind of credit that you give yourself in order to be able to continue to feed that motivation and that drive to continue to go forward. Because I think the way that I think about it, it's like, let's say it worked like this, where you do go to the gym and you never see results, right? And it's like, well, why am I even going? And I think early on for a lot of people, that journey can feel that way because it takes time to see results. But I think that in acknowledging and seeing those little wins is important to continue to feed yourself to keep going. It's almost like those are the clues, those are the deposits that allow you to embrace, no, this is who I am. This is my new role. I can, because there's so much that you've deposited towards that when it all starts to build up, it's like, no, I do deserve this. I do, I am, that person. I do deserve this role kind of thing.
It is a big deal, Dre.
Yeah. I think that again, I think it's healthy. It's good. But I also think that you need to like acknowledge some of it.
Yeah.
It's like coming back to what Sandra said, having her best friend even sit her down, talk to her through the points of what she did in her past year to just get her right back into the the mindset of like, no, I am capable.
Yeah.
Because right now, like you said, you did not have to go to the field. You did not have to work Black Friday, but you put in the work, you put in the energy, you put in the time, you rang some bells and you didn't have to do that, but you did. Yeah. And so it really goes to show that as far as whatever that imposter, like we're all feeling it, right? We're all doing it, but whatever I'm here to tell you, even Sandra's here to tell you, like these are the steps in which what you're working towards is going to be way bigger than where we are right now. So I'm just like I'm excited to see that too.
I know.
It's the day to day though. Yeah. The day to day is where we kind of feel like we are just like, can go through the motions,
right?
Which is true. And then, but I do understand that feeling of like, oh no, someone's like, yeah, you're so like, you're doing great. Like, I do feel like that when we're working with Sabastian's brand, I'm like, it's not necessarily just me. Like we have a team that's helping around that makes it look really good. So I can't take all the credit. Yeah. Like I can't take credit for that.
Yeah.
I like that you brought up the dance world again, because I remembered even during that phase that you were in, like how amazing and proud I was when you were doing that, and how it was a big deal because you were so afraid of stepping into that light, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like you were probably debilitated during that time.
Oh my gosh. I remember showing up to our practices. I hated it. I felt so embarrassed. Because again, everybody is like so good. They're able to pick up choreo really quick, and I'm struggling, and everybody is watching, you know? So it's like, and sometimes it's like, why am I even doing this? Like, why am I even putting myself through this? Like, I could really just not do this.
And I think on some levels,
You know?
like that is even harder because it's physical. You know, what you're doing is people can see it.
Yes.
Or like if you suck or if you're good, you can
You're in
see
public.
it. You can't hide that. Like, you know, people in our position, if you're in an office or something, like you can hide behind some of that, right? There you cannot.
You can't. It's like you're on the spot and it's the worst. It is the worst. And I don't know, but again, there's something about it that I must like because I stuck through it.
Yeah.
And now even before, like right before like COVID happened and everything started to shut down, I remember watching videos of myself. And I was doing it. Like the choreo, I picked up the choreo in class because what I used to do was pick up whatever first few counts I could. And then everything else was like, this isn't working. I'm just going to take the video and I'm going to learn it, but I'm going to learn it at home. Like I never picked up the choreo for the dance in that time frame, like that hour time frame. I could never do it. And it took some time for me to start to work up with like, okay, right now I'm only getting maybe 25%, and then weeks, months. Okay, now I'm getting 50% of the choreo in class. And then towards the end of my time dancing, I had the whole choreo down and I was watching videos of me. I'm like, oh my God, like I was doing it, you know, and that felt so great. But it's important to the little wins, like, okay, celebrate the fact that I got 25% down now. All right, now 50%. And just kind of sticking through it, that was very, very helpful. But I had to continue to feed myself like, no, they are obviously keeping you around on this team because they see something, you know, so just stick through it. But it was tough. It was really, really tough.
I mean, even with this, right? Like doing this podcast, this was one thing back a couple of years ago now that we're like, yeah, let's do it. Whatever. Like now we're here and we're full blown into it. There are sometimes I remembered you even sharing, you're like, sometimes I hate these things. Like
I do.
And it's coming back to it. Like, why do we feel like that? But at the end of the day, I'm like, I think we do have things to share that are
Worth
sharing.
Yeah.
And even with topics like this, hoping to help whomever in their journey and their track to see like, hey, we're all going through it. It's just whether or not you can overcome it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't talk about it. And that's the thing is that they just think like, maybe I shouldn't be feeling like this. Or maybe they believe it so much because they don't see that other people are going through it as well. Like me, like I believe it so much because that's all I know, right?
Yeah.
But knowing that other people are also going through it and maybe at a more severe level, I don't know. I think does give you some comfort to be okay to feel that way.
Like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes, to be honest, to just know that you're not alone. And to that, I don't know how many videos, podcasts, stories of very successful people, very successful entrepreneurs I've heard that have this same exact story where it's like, I didn't know what I was doing, or I failed so much. And to be able to see that person be able to open up and be so vulnerable and share like, no, I felt that way too. It's like, okay, cool. Okay. So I'm just going to
continue to
feel this way and continue to work at it. But yeah, I think that as you continue to work on it, you start to see results and clues as to, no, this is why I'm here. Yeah.
And then separating yourself from the judgment of yourself in a way where how you're learning your new skill or however long it takes you to learn your new skill, because someone else might have done it prior to you, like, for example, like with dance, right? Like you might have judged yourself in class for only getting 20% every time, right? So separating the fact like, oh, I am only getting 20%, I suck. Like instead of thinking that, you took the time to be like, well, I'm going to record the teacher, work on it by myself
Yeah.
outside of class. So it really depends on, it's like the grind, right? It's like what you do after your 9 to 5 really shows up and tells you who you are. And so even in that hour time frame in which you got 20%, you took your next 2-3 hours afterwards to get it done.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right? Like it you know what I mean? Like
I think it was more than that.
Oh, it was more than that. I remember me and my partner, we got 24-hour fitness
Oh yeah.
gym passes so that we could use the studio.
gym.
Oh my God. I can show you guys videos.
I
It's
remember those
hilarious.
videos.
Yeah, it's so funny. But I think it's things like that I'm like, no, but I did that.
Yeah, you didn't have to
you know,
do that.
but I
didn't
did
have
that. And yes, it has nothing to do with business, but my best friend says this all the time. The same brain you use for that is the same brain you're taking everywhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I love
so
it.
I'm like, okay, no, this applies to, to business as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even now with my new project, new clients that are coming on board, I'm like, ugh, and it's like, wait, this is work that I've done though. Like all of these years, this has been preparation for this, so I have to,
And that's going to be preparation for something even
something
bigger.
else. Yeah. So, right now, and it still isn't easy, even though I have reminders of like, no, you can do the hard things. You like doing the difficult things. There's still the other, like that separation that you're talking about that has to happen because I know that, but I don't know that. Like there's like a missing head to heart connection that has to happen still. And I'm like working towards that connection to happen by continuing to feed myself the right things, whether it's reminding myself of what I have accomplished or even having conversations with other people that have done it before. Whatever it is that I'm doing right now, I'm just doing the best that I possibly can to set myself up for success and to rewire my self-talk. I think that's the hardest part. It's just rewiring the self-talk because even though I know the thoughts that I do want to
Consume, feed yourself.
the thoughts, because all thoughts are optional. Like it's like, okay, no, I want this one. I want this one. These ones serve me. There's still the other ones that are trying to be like the ones that are in your ear. So it's a constant practice. It's a constant like, no, let's rewire until it just becomes a natural flow. But it's a lot of work. Because even though my best friend has slapped me around with like, no, this is why, I'm still like, okay. And I have the temptation to fall back. And I do sometimes, but it's like, no, let's just get back up. And as long as that time is getting shorter and shorter from the time that I relapse to those other bad thoughts and get back up, as long as that starts to get shorter, I know I'm moving in the right direction.
That definitely brings me right now to where we are or like what we're doing with the whole group coaching program. Like I've shared with you now how we are starting the accountability calls. And I love those. Asking you, I'm like, I actually didn't feel like I'm capable of running this. Like what makes you think that I'm the one that should be having these accountability calls with our students? And then it hit me even when Frank was like, no, you're capable. You got this. And I legit like sat there like, oh, okay, well, if Frank thinks I can do it, I better fucking do it. But the accountability calls with Frank sharing with me like, hey, like, no, you got this. You're capable. I'm like, okay, let me get down. Let me do it properly at the best of my knowledge. And even doing the follow-ups in after it are very important. So even creating those systems for myself to make sure I'm doing the best job that I can. And having those touch points with our students, because that was something I never really did. Like I'm not doing, like I didn't do that. Like I wasn't an accountability coach, but then I had to come back like, no, Molly, you've been a teacher. You've been a coach. You've been a coach now for a long period of time. You have more of a loving and supportive way to support people on these calls. Whereas with Frank, he's a more direct and like,
Why didn't you do it?
yeah, like, what are your goals? Like, why are you hitting? Like, why are you not hitting it? I'm over here like, yeah, so what are your goals like this year? Like, what have you hit? Or are there any obstacles? And I'm like, I realize that, no, I just have to be me. I really
you said mean.
No, I just have to be me because I'm actually very genuinely interested in our students and why they decided to join the program and like what they're looking for the future. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's all about how can we together raise consciousness. We can do that by talking to each other out loud about it. And so I never felt like, now I've had a few calls the last couple of weeks and I'm feeling a little bit more confident in that way where I'm like, okay, no, you got this. But I do feel that planning, preparation, blah, blah, blah thing happening every time I'm ready for these calls.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Preparation prevents poor performance.
Piss poor.
But in the business realm, that's where I had felt most recently with imposter syndrome.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And it is very debilitating. Yeah.
Yeah. And it took a couple of months for us to even execute it because I actually felt very debilitated.
Yeah. See, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like I freeze and then it's like, there's no action. And it's like, no, you need to take action, which was what I was sharing with you guys before. It's like, no. And I've heard this before. It's like, what does Sab say? Like, I rather you fail in taking action than in action.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. I have to remind myself that like, no, let's just move forward. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult. Yeah. And I think an important part too, is to get to the root of like the insecurity.
Yeah.
Which in conversation again with my best friend, I feel like we kind of like, we're like, oh, this is why it's happening. It's so funny. You should watch us in our conversations, but we love to like dig deep. It's like, no, why are you really feeling this way? I'm like, I don't know. And when we finally discover the root, it's, oh my gosh, gold. Like, okay, that's really what the monster was. I love that. I love getting to that.
Inner child healing.
Yes. It all boils down to little Sandra.
Little Sandra. Yeah. Oh, it's so true though. Anyways.
So I found a list of symptoms.
Oh, great.
Yes. So let's go over the symptoms and you guys can share if maybe it's something that you felt. But extreme lack of self-confidence, feelings of inadequacy, constant comparison to other people, anxiety, self-doubt, distrust in one's own intuition and capabilities, negative self-talk, dwelling on the past, irrational fears of the future. Taking on extra work to make sure you're doing it all. Shrugging, I can't say this word. Shrugging off accolades. Dre. Not applying to job postings unless you meet every single requirement. So for people that are unemployed, which is interesting because we've heard that women are usually the ones that are not likely to apply to a certain job because they don't meet all the criteria. And what is it with men?
It's like they're only they're not even qualified for like most of the jobs that they apply to. It was something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So this article that I'm looking at, it actually has a couple items of how to overcome it. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. These are good. So how to overcome it would be to remember that success is subjective, which is interesting. Because what winning looks like to you might be different than what it looks like to other people.
To the person praising you.
Yeah. Set boundaries around systems or individuals who detract from your personal wellness and growth. Take ownership of objective success. Perform consistent self-care check-ins. And the last one, speak with a therapist.
And that's why we have the F3 podcast.
Seriously. Yeah.
Basically. We talk through it. We just talk through it.
We really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which one really hit definitely for you? The accolades.
Yeah. And the one of like doing more work just to like, I'm doing it all kind of situation, you know? Those two, I think for sure.
Yeah. For me, the constant daily check-ins are always a good one. And the symptoms that I would feel would be the judgment that I have of myself against what others have achieved.
I need to see the list again.
I know, it was a long list.
It was a long list. I think the comparison is a big one. Anxiety is another big one because I think that leads me to freezing and just, I think those two, and a little bit of what you were saying with the taking on more.
When you could be delegate, like honestly, sometimes I'll take something on and I'm like, why am I doing this to prove a point?
Exactly.
Like I could be delegating this to someone completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. So and sometimes it's not just just doing more so that I can prove, but I have noticed that there are times where I do take on more tasks. In a weird way, it's like productive procrastination.
It's like you start doing things just to like stay away from this one task that you're supposed to be doing. You're like, wow, I'm
working away.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Productive.
Like for me, it's like sending Kat all the mail is just like something that's like a very B2 priority. And if I have this big task and I'm like, sending her the mail.
You know what? Next time I see you passing around texts, I'm like, Drake, what are you procrastinating on right now?
But that's also something that I like shit like that.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't even want to do, but I have to do it. Is like, I start to put in these like other things that I've been procrastinating on that are just a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I got that done. Sick.
And check mark.
I love it. But it does happen though.
Yeah.
That is so true. I'm laughing. It does happen.
Yeah. So I have to check myself too. I'm like, Sandra,
get back.
Do your proposal right now.
Yes. Which is why I'm like, I'm going to put myself in situations where I have to get it done. I'm going to set a meeting with Molly. I'm going to set a deadline. And then it just kind of like forces me like, nope, you need to, you can't escape this. So you also have to know yourself and make sure that you're putting yourself in positions where that even if you don't want to, you're setting yourself up for success and you'll thank yourself for it later.
Absolutely.